LifeLock, how can I help?
The IRS said I
filed my return,
but I haven't.
1 in 4 tax-paying Americans has paid the price of identity fraud.
What do I do?
My refund, though. I'm freaking out.
Don't worry, I can fix this.
LifeLock fixes identity theft guaranteed and gets your money back with up to $3 million in coverage.
I'm so relieved.
No problem. I'll be with you every step of the way.
1 in 4 was a fraud-paying American. Not anymore. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
The Roger Stone Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Another rough week for the War Room's Steve Bannon, with new emails between he and Jeffrey Epstein released by the Justice Department show that he was planning to take down Pope Francis. This is just kind of the beginning of the bad news. Joining me now to talk about all of these revelations regarding Steve Bannon is Troy Smith, the editor and publisher of Slingshot.news. Troy, welcome back to the Roger Stone Show.
Roger, it's an honor to be here. Thank you very much. Very happy to be here and happy to discuss this topic, which is just shaking the conservative world.
Yeah, it really has. Look, I make no bones about the fact that what my original beef is with Bannon. Well, when Manafort left the campaign based to the fake news set up by the New York Times and the Clinton people, in which they faked a ledger that showed a $29 million payment to Manafort for some political campaign, which, by the way, I think would have been legal. But that document on the front page of the New York Times was forged. It drove Manafort from the Trump campaign. The Mercers, wealthy Trump supporters, pledged more money if Steve Bannon was put in charge, and that's how Bannon became the campaign manager. But I had my own beef with him because I actually tried to help him in that role. And then when he and I both went to the House Intelligence Committee under oath, he was asked whether he'd ever discussed WikiLeaks, Julian Assange, or these allegedly stolen emails with Roger Stone. He said, no, never. You can imagine my surprise at my trial in Washington, D.C., when the government surprise witness is Steve Bannon, who sweeps to the jury box, or I should say to the witness stand, dressed like kind of a fat Johnny Cash, all in black, lots of dandruff, doesn't look like he's bathed recently, won't look me in the eye, asked the exact same question, did you ever speak to Roger Stone about WikiLeaks, Julian Assange, or these allegedly stolen emails? He says yes. Stone brought it up in every phone conversation we had in 2016, and I considered him the campaign's access point to WikiLeaks. I'd taken 3 separate lie detector tests to prove that was false. So I knew him to be a backstabber. Now, at that point, I didn't realize that he was under investigation himself. By the way, the prosecution had an obligation to tell us that when they produced him as a witness, but of course they didn't. And that he would later be charged with stealing $15 million from the Build the Wall Foundation. He would be charged federally. At the last minute, President Donald Trump pardoned him, but did not pardon his 2 co-conspirators, both of whom went to jail for long sentences. Steve was then re-indicted in Manhattan on the same charge. Double jeopardy does not hold because he wasn't tried in the first case. He didn't have to go through trial as I did. I was pardoned after trial, rightfully. But he was re-indicted, and then surprisingly, recently, he pled guilty, and a liberal Democrat judge gave him no time. I now learned that it is in the prosecution of his financial patron after he was bounced out of the Trump White House. Now, the reason, Troy, he could be sore is because on August 17th of 2017, I wrote an op-ed for the Daily Caller saying why he should be fired from his White House job, and the very next day he was a leaker, and he was not serving the president. So I knew about this transgressions. Now I learned that in the that his financial patron, Chinese national name names Miles Guo, goes by several names, when he was prosecuted for a $1 billion as in financial fraud, Bannon was named as an unindicted co-conspirator, but he was not charged in that, leading you to wonder whether he was a witness. But these email exchanges with Epstein really take the cake. Just by way of laying down the marker, right after he left the White House, shortly after he left the White House, the New York Post reported that Bannon was seen going to Epstein's home for a breakfast meeting, his palatial Manhattan home. The New York Post would later report that Bannon visited, according to the butler, that Bannon visited Epstein at his Paris apartment. Now, however, these emails show us a more fulsome picture of the relationship between the convicted sex criminal and Steve Bannon.
USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks, or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Tap the banner to learn more and get a quote at USAA.com/bundle. Restrictions apply.
Absolutely, Roger. And there's a lot in these emails that we can get to. I think, first off, we can just recognize the fact that Steve Bannon referred to Jeffrey Epstein, the Jeffrey Epstein, as a genius in these emails. People have to keep in mind that a bulk of these exchanges come up until the day that Jeffrey Epstein is actually in handcuffs. This is not something that happened years prior, Roger. This was leading directly up to the bust of Jeffrey Epstein. And in the final hours, just before his July 6th, 2019 arrest on federal sex trafficking charges, Jeffrey Epstein was still deeply engaged in an intimate conversation with Steve Bannon. Early that morning, the day he was arrested, Epstein excitedly shared plans for the two of them to drive together the following Monday to Cold Spring Harbor, New York, for lunch with pioneering scientist James Watson at his home, even extending an open invitation for Bannon to join. Later that afternoon, the conversation turned to future filming of this documentary that Bannon was essentially hired to produce for Jeffrey Epstein to cleanse his image. And so they're talking about filming this documentary on the day that Epstein is arrested, Roger, talking about can they film it on the island. That's a direct text from Steve Bannon to Jeffrey Epstein. If we can arrange it, can we film on the island? Referring to Little St. James, the same island we've heard so much about.
Well, so, very clearly, you're right. He is in these emails. He is coaching Epstein. He says we have to bury the pedophile image. You have to be less creepy. If you're asked about the girls, if someone notes that the girls you're with seem young, said yes, but they're all of age, even though he knew that wasn't true. But more importantly, he's viciously anti-Trump throughout these. So here's a guy, first of all, Epstein is the one who says you need your own independent media platform. It's Bannon who says that not Trump, but Bannon is the centerpiece of the movement. I found that to be quite extraordinary. Beyond that, you learn that Epstein gave Bannon as a gift an expensive Hermes Apple Watch. He offers him his home or his island if he wants to get away with a lady friend, to which Bannon responds, "Thank you, brother." Who calls a convicted sex criminal brother? I mean, all this happens between the time that Epstein is charged and convicted in Florida and the time that he's charged in 2019. So it is, I believe, the accounts by Michael Wolff in his book that Bannon was very bitter after Trump fired him. He said Trump was not a billionaire. He said the Trump organization was a criminal enterprise. He said that Don Jr. was a Russian asset and he would go to prison. He said all of these things. And here you see him disparaging Trump. He calls Trump stupid, among other things, and he belittles him. What's amazing here, of course, is that certain influencers have not weighed in on this, certain conservative influencers. It is alleged from some very good sourcing that when he was funded by the Chinese national, I mentioned earlier, that there was money flowing to a substantial flock of influence, Miles Guo, his Chinese patron.
Absolutely, Roger. There's millions of dollars at stake here. And not only that, but we have to look at the history. You mentioned We Build the Wall. Here's a situation where $15 million is scammed out of the pockets of hardworking MAGA patriots across the country under the guise that a wall is going to be built with the money, when Steve Bannon knew all along that wasn't going to be the case. What happens? His co-conspirators are in jail, and he's not. And that's something that comes up time and time again, Roger. You're somebody who has been attacked by the system. That's why I wanted to ask you specifically. You know, Bannon has evaded responsibility really for anything he's done is time and time again. And meanwhile, people like you've been raked over the coals. What does it say to you about somebody like Bannon when they never actually face consequence for what they're doing? It says he's involved in something, doesn't it?
Well, you have to wonder whether he was an asset. Look, I believe that in the case of Miles Guo, who goes by many names, it's interesting to me that in the Strategic Vision federal case, when he was sued, when asked about the source of his money, his ties to the CCP, he pled the fifth more than 50 times. He asserted his Fifth Amendment rights. Also, when he was asked about William G., who was essentially seemed to be the man controlling the money. There is some speculation that William G. is actually connected directly to the CCP. So a lot of questions about this money flow, but you're right. Again, he's an unindicted co-conspirator. When he is convicted, he serves no jail time. He gets a pardon at the last minute. You have to wonder how he's lived kind of a protected life, don't you?
I do, Roger, and it's something that we're going to be covering more and more, and this is something that I'm happy to talk about here. We're going to be producing some stories on this over at artvoice.com as well as frankreport.com, where I'm contributing now, so people can check those out. And I would encourage everybody to go over to your X feed immediately, because you have been posting the deepest, the darkest secrets about Steve Bannon and Epstein all over your X feed, so people can see that. And it's just interesting to me, Roger, this guy that's so anti-elitist, so anti-rich, he's working with people like Woody Allen and Jeffrey Epstein to cleanse their image. It speaks to just how much of a hypocrite Steve Bannon really is, and how much he really doesn't care about the people that he purports to care about, the same people he scammed out of $15 million in the We Build the Wall scam.
Well, he says he's running for president in 2028. I don't know how he thinks he's going to do that without confronting the questions about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. The whole thing is extraordinarily creepy. We're going to stay on this communist Chinese thread, try to get a better look at where Miles Guo's money actually came from. And sources tell me that the list of those influencers who did take money from Bannon, regardless where the money came from, the same ones who aren't criticizing him today, that list exists. If that's true, we will certainly bring it to you right here on the Roger Stone Show. I want to thank Troy Smith, the editor and publisher of Slingshot.News, for joining us today. Thank you, Troy.
Thank you, Roger. Always an honor. God bless.
Thanks for listening to The Roger Stone Show. You can hear The Roger Stone Show Sunday afternoons at 3. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode, so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?